come to my mind. We had a great run of it. He's a great coach, and I'm proud to have him as a friend and proud to have had the times that we had. We just had a great experience.
Can you answer Switzer's question now?
What?
Do you think you could answer Barry's question now?
I've never been able to know why. I fucked it up. That, not just that, but anything else. No, I can't answer those questions.
Oh, my goodness. Well, good morning, good people. Mark Holmes here, of course, with my buddy, Joe Bear. What's up, Joe Bear? And as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. I hope you all are having a great day. Cowboys, they're always on my mind, and I feel it's kind of crazy because I've missed being here. And I didn't realize how much I missed being here until I'm actually sitting here. I love the red brick house. I love all the things that we've done there. I love my desk and my setup and studio that's being built. It's changing and evolving as we go through. But this is home. This is really, really home. And sitting here again, remembering that 2017, I built this, and it was sitting over here. It was just a single locker to look like the lockers that are in Dallas at AT&T, and then expanding and growing each year. It really takes me back because it's been a long journey doing YouTube here, and I've truly been blessed. But I understand my mission, things you got to do to look out for others. So hopefully we'll be able to get back here. I miss having Super Bowl parties and game watch parties and things like that, seeing my buddies and DMV and David Wiley, them boys kicks and everything else, seeing everybody hanging out and just having a good time here together. And hopefully better times will be here for everyone and the Cowboys. And I believe, I had a great live stream last night with Game Time Brian. And again, that's where you realize how much you miss hanging with your friends when you get a chance to hang with them again. And going through and talking with Game Time Brian and bouncing my thoughts and his thoughts off of each other and things. It's my belief, and maybe I'm crazy, maybe I am just the dumbass Cowboy fan that just keeps buying into the bullshit. But I believe that press conference that happened with Brian Schottenheimer being introduced was a inflection point, a changing point for the Dallas Cowboys. I think that Stephen Jones, literally, Stephen Jones knows that Cowboy fans, they're not going to cheer for. We're not. He knows he's going to get vilified in the media and things. He gets that. Beyond the Cowboys media. But I believe when we were sitting there, they were sitting there, I was not, sitting there, and Brian Schottenheimer is introduced, and everybody goes, hey, Brian, and Jerry, yeah. And then Stephen Jones, it was just literally crickets. And then for him to just kind of be dismissive of the Super Bowl drought, and literally getting killed by everybody. That I think that was like a knife in the back and a wake-up call for him and the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I believe, and I've thrown these conspiracy theories out and things like that, I can't believe that Will McClay has been in the same position for all these years, for 13 years, 14 years. And that he's okay signing a 5-year contract to do exactly the same thing. What I believe is, Stephen Jones has been taking more and more power from Jerry Jones in the regular operations of the Cowboys. And I don't know how long Jerry will be the GM and the guy who's there, where he's telling you he's making all the calls and he's the best man for the job and all of that shit. I don't know. But I find it hard to believe that when Jerry stops, that Steven is going to take on all of Jerry's responsibilities and do what he's doing right now, being the capologist and vice president of operations. And as I was trying to say, some people said I was being sexist, but Charlotte, she's the philanthropist side of the Cowboys. I'm not sure that she wants to be president of operations or vice president of operations for the Cowboys. I don't know that Jerry Jones Jr. is going to be there. And I feel like Will McClay is setting himself up to actually become the GM. That maybe when Stephen Jones becomes the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, or it's a collective of him and his siblings, that what you see now is Will McClay becomes the GM. That's what I believe will happen. We won't know until all that happens. I hope that this doesn't get to the point of where Al Davis was his last few years, where it was just sad to watch. The moves and seeing Al Davis, I don't want to see that with Jerry. Whether you love him or hate him, you don't want to see him literally disintegrate the last few years. Be that as it may, I feel like what you've at least heard, say what you will about Catboy, that he's cheap, where he said things like, when Jerry's gone, I don't see us taking more risk. I see us taking less risk. And I say, you're not taking any risks these days. But hearing him this week, because you can say what you want about him, he doesn't bullshit you like Jerry. He's not going to say we're going all in and then doesn't do it. He follows through with what he says. And if that is continuing, then that might actually be a good thing for the Cowboys, because if he follows through where he says that, we can't keep doing things the same way, you all of a sudden say, maybe there's hope. And as I look through, as bad as this past season was, we had so many injuries, it was unfathomable to even put a team on the field. We still won 7 games. I know it wasn't pretty, but you think about games like, let's say Cincinnati. We block a punt where if we don't touch it, we probably win that game. All of a sudden, that's 8 wins right there. I got to believe that having Dak Prescott there would have been a couple more wins as opposed to Cooper Rush. Right there, then all of a sudden you're talking about 10 wins. And when I think about where we were with this team and Mike McCarthy, you have to look at this and say, we didn't go out there and get any more talent. We did not. And it's a travesty, because you had really good teams that, had you gotten a linebacker and another wide receiver, or, a player or two here, a defensive lineman, if you got 3 players on any of those 12-win teams, maybe you would have been in the NFC Championship game in the Super Bowl. It's literally that close. You're on a knife's edge, the difference of winning and losing games. But we never had the foresight to say, we're good, let's be great. I do like what I hear here. Now part of our problem is the last few years, that number 1 pick, we've been spoiled with. When you think about Tyron Smith coming out the box, or Travis Frederick, or Zach Martin, or Micah Parsons, that those guys were instant starters and instant players that were great players for us. We got used to that and figured we're going to have that happen every year, but it hasn't happened the last couple of years. Our first and second picks have been kind of meh. And that's part of the problem when you don't use free agency and your first round picks aren't out the box. Now, I have to say, I love hearing what I heard from Tyler Guyton. This is what he posted on Instagram. I have an immense love and respect for the journey and everything this game represents. Year 1 is just the beginning, an opportunity to learn, grow, and embrace every challenge that comes my way. I'm grateful for every lesson every moment, and every step forward of my legacy. That's pretty good. Now, let's hope that he follows it up with getting in the hip pocket of Duke Merriweather, the offensive line guru, that he's in the weight room getting stronger, faster, getting his body ready for it. I don't believe he was that experienced coming out of college, and he's got a lot to learn and got a lot of room to grow, and we need him to be better than what he was. I don't know if the Cowboys' plans are we're going to go ahead and cut Terrence Steele because he doesn't have any more guaranteed money, and we go through and move him to the right, and then we look for a left tackle. We've got a lot of holes to fill, and, you know, we may be losing that Zach Martin. I'd hate to see Zach Martin and D-Law go to another team for a year or two like Tyron Smith. That's the saddest thing, is when you see somebody who's been a great player for you literally see their career just disintegrate in front of you. Tyron Smith was a shell of himself, and I wish that he could have just left and retired as being a Cowboy, and that was the end of it. And I would hate to see the same thing happen with Zach Martin. And again, knowing the Cowboys, if he's getting his ankle right, maybe he's back. We'll have to wait and see on that, how that goes. Be that as it may, we don't know what we're trying to do. But the thing I do like, and going back to this past season, that thank God we could finally put it in the rearview mirror. When we look at last year, and you hear the Cowboys talking about, we want to be able to run the football, you know, that there's an emphasis on run. Of course, the Dak Prescott's hater, yeah, we should have never paid Dak Prescott because now we're going to be paying him all that money just to hand off the football. And it's like, I'm sorry, but you guys don't seem to understand football. You don't have a completely pass-running offense with no semblance of a running game that's going to winning Super Bowls. At least none that I can remember. At least none that I can remember, because I can remember John Elway being everything, passing game and all that. And until they got Terrell Davis, who ended up having a 2,000-yard season, he didn't win Super Bowls. I can think about Dan Marino with Clayton and Duper and everything else, where they were just able to pass the football but didn't really have a great running game to go along with it. You can't tell me that he's a loser because he doesn't have a Super Bowl ring. One of the greatest quarterbacks in history of football, but didn't have the running game to go with it. And this is where you understand and you see literally, and I hate to give credit to the Eagles, having the foresight of saying that DeAndre Swift is good, but we need to be even better. Make no mistake about it. DeAndre Swift's season for the Eagles the year before was better by far than what we had this year. And they said, we need to be better. They get Saquon, and he gets 2,000 yards, and they hardly have to use their passing game. They're literally 30th, and they're in the Super Bowl. It's not about the statistics of how many yards we get running the football or passing the football. The only statistic that matters is your ass is in the Super Bowl. That is playing winning football. And as you go through and you start looking at what we were doing, and I believe out of the first 11 games, I think we only rushed for 100 yards 3 times. When you look at this, let me pop it up here. We started off pretty good with Cleveland with 102 yards, but then New Orleans, 68, the Ravens, 51, even the Giants, 80 yards. We did pretty good against the Steelers, and of course, we got the win. We got the win with the Steelers when we rushed for 109 yards, even though we still ended up having to pass for 360. The Lions, 53 yards. San Francisco, 56 yards. Atlanta, 137. Philadelphia, 97. We didn't actually start getting in a groove running the football until the last half of the season, and that's when we actually started winning some games. You see, against the Giants, 122. Against the Bengals, 156 to 166 passing. And that's the game that had we, not screwed the pooch on the block punt, maybe we win that game. Carolina, man, we ran the ball great. 211 yards. We win that one going away. And so you can understand the reason behind the emphasis on running the football. And I'm excited about that prospect and getting Derek Foster, who worked with Alvin Kamara this past year with New Orleans. He's worked with Austin Eckler with the Chargers. I feel like that inflection point of being an embarrassment and realizing that it's not given that Cowboy fans are going to show up, that you're being vilified in the media, and that you've got to do something different. And it seems like the Cowboys have been on a mission to get a great staff together to support Ryan Schottenheimer. Does that work? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But I do love that. Now, that's just part one. Today is Tuesday, March the 6th. The 27th is the first workouts of the Combine. It's 3 weeks and a couple days away. And it actually opens up 3 weeks from now. Everybody starts showing up, starts doing the weigh-ins, and basically you're like cattle being herded through, being looked at, prodded, and everything else, looking at every x-ray, asking you questions that are infallible and everything else to try and get an idea of who and what we are drafting for our rosters. Not much time. In the meantime, there's some players that are going to be out there that the Cowboys could add. Now, we always get excited. We always hear that there's an odds-on favorite that the Cowboys are going to get this guy, or this is the team, the player the Cowboys should get. We all get excited and start going, oh, yeah, that'd be great. But we don't ever do shit, at least in the past. And the question will be is, will the Cowboys say, we got to do more? It's Cooper Kupp right now, where Los Angeles is looking to trade and move him. And I'm going to say, if Cooper Kupp is traded, where the Rams recognize we're going to eat some of that contract, we're going to be sick again if it ends up being a fourth-round draft pick. Now, I get it. He's 32 years old. He had a bunch of injuries this year and things, and so it wasn't a great year and stuff. But we'll probably be sick if he's traded for a fourth-round pick. We don't have a fourth-round pick this year. Why? Because we traded for Jonathan Mingo. Yeah. Now, you've got Myles Garrett, who is 29, who is requesting a trade. A lot of people think that that's going to be 2 number ones. I think that's going to be too expensive for the Cowboys. But it's always nice to dream. And listening to Rich Eisen, who's making the case of, teams trading for him and so on, it's interesting, and it's fun to dream about having a great pass rusher to go along with Micah Parsons and think about how good that defense would be just adding that one piece.
Seriously, Luka and AD get traded. It's just, by the way, Myles Garrett raised his hand today and said, I want out of Cleveland.
Oh, this is probably
the reigning defensive player of the year, who just turned 29 a month ago, at the top of his remarkable Hall of Fame game, former first overall pick, finally has had enough of waiting around to see what the Browns can potentially build, watching a playoff season from last year go straight down the tubular route, and now seeing the fact that if he does believe Deshaun Watson is the answer, that he's not coming back next year, and the team sitting second overall on the clock and might choose a rookie quarterback sitting there at the top of the draft. And if they don't, Travis Hunter coming isn't going to play quarterback out of the remarkable talents that he has. And I guess decided that whatever plan Andrew Berry, the general manager, and ownership, or Coach Kevin Stefanski has told him about what's coming over the next season or two, he let it be known and popped out on social media after everybody in their NFL media world reported that he wants out, sent out this note saying, as a kid dreaming of the NFL, all I focused on was the ultimate goal of winning a Super Bowl, and that goal fuels me today more than ever. My love for the community of Northeast Ohio and the incredible fan base of the Cleveland Browns has made this one of the toughest decisions of my life. These past 8 years have shaped me into the man I am today. Said he loved calling the city his home. My desire to win and compete on the biggest stages won't allow me to be complacent. The goal was never to go from Cleveland to Canton, meaning the Hall of Fame. It has always been to compete for and win a Super Bowl, and then the only line in bold. With that in mind, I've requested to be traded from the Cleveland Browns, Myles Garrett, and he signed it.
Oh, shit! Oh, shit!
And we'll find out if the NFL is the NBA. And if him saying, I don't want to be here anymore, can be put back together, because the last time, if I'm not mistaken, interesting that we have this photograph on the screen as I say this, the last time, if I'm not mistaken, an AFC North star of stars said, I want out, the Ravens gave Lamar what he wanted. But that was money. And that was contractual security. I don't know if that is the underpinning of this with Myles Garrett. I don't think it is. I don't think this is a Jimmy Butler play where I don't see the money coming. I want to be taken care of for years to come. That will make me feel better about sitting through all of this. He said it's about winning a Super Bowl, and he wants out. And I am sure there are many teams for whom this guy is a missing piece and would be happy to oblige him.
Ooh, Mr. Carter.
Pretty much. And if I am Andrew Berry, the general manager of the Browns, my first thought is to sit him down and try and put it back together. I imagine, however that went previously, Myles decided this is the better way to go, and it's tough to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. He can. Again, Chris, would you mind potentially looking up what his contractual status is?
Sure.
Albert Breer will join us to help put these pieces together shortly. But if you are, say, let's just throw it out there, a team that has trouble getting past Patrick Mahomes, what do you think about that idea of bringing Myles Garrett to Western New York? Mm-hmm. How will that help things? I would say, the teams that have trouble getting past Patrick Mahomes, one of them resides in the AFC North in Baltimore. Another one has gotten past Patrick Mahomes in Cincinnati. I would proffer to say, a very, very warm place would have to freeze over, like the Fortress of Solitude, in order to have the Cleveland Browns trade him within division. Would the Houston Texans be of interest for Myles Garrett and vice versa? Would anyone in the AFC West be of any interest? If I'm the Browns, I'm only answering phone calls with area codes that come from the NFC. Because I don't want to see Myles Garrett in my house but once every 4 years if I can avoid it.
Right.
If you are the Washington Commanders, if you are the Detroit Lions, if you're the Green Bay Packers, if you're the Vikings, if you're the Bears. Now, if you're the Bears, does Myles Garrett think you've got a shot at winning a championship? If you're the Detroit Lions, Myles Garrett would have maybe like to say, I like Detroit. If you're, say, the San Francisco 49ers, listen, I know the Rams have all these young pass rushers. Now, this is all well and good playing fantasy football here, saying that team should trade for him. If I'm Andrew Berry, I'm also saying 2 number ones is the only way I answer your phone call. If you're willing to give up 2 number ones, here's my number. Or you have my number, you can call it.
Yep.
2 number ones.
2 number ones. That's a lot.
Riddick on in hour number 1. He's like, that might be too rich for somebody's blood. A 1 and a 2 and a highly useful player for the Cleveland Browns right now on the spot might do the trick. Again, 29 years old. As of right now, maybe not be by Thursday night, but currently for the next 3 days, defending Defensive Player of the Year, who is up for a back-to-back award as well on Thursday night, which is why Myles Garrett, I imagine, will be in New Orleans on Wednesday, and he is slated to be a third-hour in-studio guest with us.
Yes.
And I have been told he's coming straight from the airport.
Ooh.
Straight to the airport.
If it all stays as is, Myles Garrett is flying into New Orleans, the Super Bowl town, to start doing media fresh off of demanding a trade with the Cleveland Browns, and his first stop is the Rich Eisen show.
That's how you do it, though.
Well, I mean, that's the way I like to do it.
Oh, you're doing it.
He's got a very tradable contract, basically 2 years left. He's got an option bonus that's due on the 5th day of the new league year for about 18 and change. His cap hit's $19 million.
Well, maybe, and that could be him saying, hey,
I want a new deal. We're at the new spot.
Yeah. Or I want a new deal here. If they're not willing to give it to him, and he's 29, and he can, you see what Nick Bosa is making? Mm-hmm. And you're like, excuse me. So money could be at the root of this as well. And if it is, the Browns should kind of cough it up. I mean, if you want to rebuild and start winning now, and you saw last year, you had some pieces enough to actually get Joe Flacco working and make the playoffs.
Listen, a lot of people,
they're going to try and keep
the Browns were going to win their division this year.
Yeah. This is true.
So Myles Garrett's from Arlington, Texas. And
there you go.
Team,
hey, if
you're not ready to win a Super Bowl.
Right. I mean, it could be with Myles Garrett.
Mm-hmm.
that could change your fortune a little bit.
I know that, but it would also require a piece of the pie that we've been told doesn't exist, because the quarterback's making as much as he's making, and the wide receiver's making as much as he's making, and Micah Parsons is making as much as he's making.
Well, Jerry needs to loosen up the
know
wallet strings a little bit.
That ain't happening.
Well, you won a Super Bowl right before you die, as he told us, and you've got the money, and here's a guy who grew up in the shadows of your stadium. It's worth a shot, at least making an effort to maybe bring this man home.
You put Myles Garrett on the other side
come on.
of Micah Parsons, it's good night.
How are you going to pay both these guys?
I don't know.
You have got to be smoking something over there.
I realize it's not going to happen, but they got to at least give the fan base at least we're trying.
They have to.
They didn't call about Derrick Henry. This is not happening.
So I'm hoping maybe they learn from their mistakes. Huh?
You'd rather be lied to that they're trying?
No, I want them to at least be trying to do something to make this team better. Give me I guess so, Jason. Now that I think about it, yeah, at least make it
Joe
seem.
Milton, straight up for Myles Garrett.
Nice.
Let's go.
Yeah,
Joe Milton. Okay.
Notice I didn't mention your team.
We're not ready to win a Super Bowl either.
I mean, you've got to be
not even
close.
Yeah, we're not close.
If he's saying it's about winning a Super Bowl,
there's only a handful of teams.
Dude, Cleveland sending him just up the road to Buffalo might be a pipe dream too. Like I said, if I'm Andrew Berry and if I do find it necessary to oblige him, I'm calling NFC teams or saying to NFC teams, you're the only ones I'm talking to.
Yeah.
And if I'm Myles Garrett, why wouldn't I? And you mentioned this on, I think, the previous Overreaction Monday. The latest one, by the way, is up. We recorded it before today's program. You said, I think, on a previous Overreaction Monday, Jaden Daniels is only going to make Washington a red-hot March conversation as a destination in a way that hasn't been before.
Yep.
Hey, Dan Quinn can sell Myles Garrett on coming here. You want to win a Super Bowl? This is the way to do it.
Wow.
And you can put you can put tombstones of Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, and
Ooh.
Tommy Cutlets on your front lawn. You know what I mean?
We'll leave it right there on that one. But yeah, Cowboys might need to get Myles Garrett just to help keep from the Eagles or Washington getting them. But we'll see what happens. It's still going to be a very, very interesting offseason, to say the least. As always, good people, I appreciate you guys, and hopefully I can be here more often. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon.